So welcome back guys. This is quick revision class for mechanical operation, the last class, okay, where we will discuss the remaining topics like fluidization, filtration, solid gas separation, solid separation and the sedimentation. Okay, so in last class where we discussed the terminal settling velocity and the different regimes, first regime, second regime, third regime. So first regime we saw, that is also known as Stokes law regime. If you remember, the equation we got, dt was equal to square root of 4 by 3 CD rho f dp g rho p minus rho f. In general, for a spherical particle, okay, and for different particles Reynolds number we were having the different values of CD, the drag coefficient, and that we can see with the help of this curve that is plot obviously on a log graph paper. NREP, that is particle Reynolds number, which we can define as diameter of particle, density of fluid, velocity of particle within the fluid to the viscosity of fluid. The curve was something like this. Okay, as you can see, for the first regime it is linearly changing with particle Reynolds number, and for first regime, which is also known as laminar flow regime, where particle Reynolds number is less than equal to 10 to the power minus 1. Okay, in this regime CD is equal to 24 over NREP. Where when you put this value of CD in this expression, so in particle Reynolds number you have to put CD equal to 24 over NREP. And NREP, this is the velocity of particle. Since we are talking about the terminal point, so this V will become the terminal velocity, and when you rearrange the expression you will get Vt is equal to dp square g rho p minus rho f over 18 mu f. And this laminar flow regime is also known as Stokes law regime. Okay, and for this Stokes law regime, as we can see, the maximum value for the particle Reynolds number will be this, that is 0.1. Okay, in some books it is given as 2 into 10 to the power minus 1. That is absolutely absurd, because that is one specific case. So in general, even in your GATE exam, when we talk about the sedimentation, particle settling or gas bubble rising, whatever it is, we will consider it as 10 to the power minus 1 only. Okay, next is the second regime. As you can see, in the second regime CD is changing. Okay, the slope is changing from minus 1 to 0, so that is transition flow regime, which is between particle Reynolds number 10 to the power minus 1 to 10 to the power 3. Then the third regime, that is also called Newton's law regime, or you can say turbulent flow regime. Here, as you can see from the graph, CD is constant, that is independent of the particle Reynolds number, and this value is about 0.44. So when you put this value here, you will get the terminal settling velocity for the turbulent flow regime. Okay, and the last is fourth rezyme, where we can see in the fourth rezyme particle Reynolds number is greater than 10 to the power 5. Okay, and in this rezyme, that is called highly turbulent flow rezyme. Highly turbulent flow rezyme, as you can see, there is a sudden drop in the curve, and again it is a constant. Okay, so we take CD as 0.10 for this rezyme. Okay, so based on these different values of CD, you can put here and you can solve. Okay, for the terminal settling velocity. And now here one question is, they can ask either directly to calculate the terminal settling velocity, or they can give the value of terminal settling velocity and ask you to find out the viscosity or the density of the fluid or anything. Okay, so whatever they are asking, you can calculate based on the suitable equation by using the suitable equation. And the suitable equation, which equation you have to use, that you can identify by calculating the drag coefficient, particle Reynolds number, by calculating the particle Reynolds number. So if you are able to know, if you are able to calculate the particle Reynolds number, then you can easily find out the rezyme, and then accordingly you can use the formula. Like this equation you have to use, or this equation you have to use. Okay, one more thing is here, sometimes in the question it is not mentioned which rezyme is there. Sometimes it is mentioned, but when it is not mentioned, you have to calculate the particle Reynolds number. And to calculate the particle Reynolds number, you must have the values of diameter, density, velocity and viscosity. Sometimes I hope you know that the ratio of dynamic viscosity to the density is known as kinematic viscosity. So sometime in question kinematic viscosity is given, and if it is not given, then you must know the kinematic viscosity. By default, you must know the values of kinematic viscosity for water, that is 10 to the power minus 6 meters square per second, and for air. Okay, so by default these two values should be known to all of you. Now, if we are not able to calculate the particle Reynolds number, okay, like some variables are given, viscosity is given, density is given, diameter is also given, but velocity is unknown. Okay, in the question so many parameters are given, and they are asking you to calculate the terminal settling velocity. Okay, and when they are asking to calculate the terminal settling velocity, then obviously I have to use one of these forms of the equation. But which form I have to use, that I can decide only when I know the rezyme. And which rezyme I have to use, that I have to calculate, that I have to decide by calculating particle Reynolds number. But the twist is, to calculate particle Reynolds number, we have to use V. Okay, velocity we have to calculate, we have to find out this value, but we don't know what is the particle Reynolds number, because without velocity you cannot calculate this. Okay, so I am not going in the design part of the sedimentation equipment, the thickener, settler and all that stuff, okay, or the clarifiers. I am just telling you, in that case, by default, in most of the cases, you have to use the Stokes-Low rezyme, because in the question, if velocity is, they are asking to calculate the velocity, and without velocity, obviously you can't calculate the particle Reynolds number, and you can't decide which rezyme you have to use. Okay, then by default you have to go for Stokes-Low rezyme. Why? But there is a condition. You have to read the question statement, and you have to see whether the solution, the mixture is concentrated, highly concentrated. Okay, because if the mixture is highly concentrated, then obviously Stokes-Low rezyme will be there, because particle will settle with low velocity. Second point, if solution is not concentrated but the viscosity of the fluid is high, okay, like they can say that a particle is settling in glycerine or some other viscous fluid. Okay, so obviously viscosity for the fluid is high, then the terminal settling velocity will be low, obviously, as you can see from this expression as well. Okay, so these are some points which should be considered while solving the numericals. And these kind of numericals they have asked frequently in early 90s. Okay, but you don't need to go there and solve all the 90s question. First, your main focus should be on the last 20 years question only. Okay, for that, for those questions, you can give the test series. In test series, we have already included all of those kind of questions. Okay, the good quality questions and some easy questions and some difficult questions, all those questions. Now, how to use all these things that we have to check. इसे यूज करना थोड़ा प्रैक्टिस लगेगी, हो जाएगा. But I am successful in my second attempt to slide this. Wow. Now there is a very common question. Okay, like there is a very simple and common question, and that was obviously asked in GATE exam in early 2000. A bacteria is moving with 15 mm per second in water. The size of bacteria is given 2 micron, and I hope you understand micron means micrometer. Okay, you have to find out the drag coefficient. Simple. Now to find out the drag coefficient, we must know the particle Reynolds number, and so here we can calculate the particle Reynolds number. You can also try these numericals by yourself. Okay, after pausing the video if you are watching the recorded version. So particle Reynolds number is, we know that dp rho f v over mu f. Okay, so here if you put the values, so you know that for water the density is whatever it is. Let's put the values one by one. So diameter of particle means diameter of bacteria is 2 micron. So you can write it as 2 into 10 to the power minus 6 meter, obviously. The density of the water, I hope you understand, 10 to the power 3 kg per cubic meter. You know that. The velocity is given 15 mm per second, or you can write it as 15 into 10 to the power minus 3 meter per second. And in denominator, viscosity of water, I hope you know that is 1 centipoise, or you can write it as 10 to the power minus 3 Pascal second, or Newton second per meter square, or kg per meter per second. So when you solve these values, you will get particle Reynolds number, whatever value is that. Minus 3 cancel, minus 6 minus 3, 15 into 2, 300, 30 into 3 upon 100, it has to be 0.03. The value of particle Reynolds number will be 0.03. Okay, and we know that it is far below the 10 to the power minus 1. That means bacteria is moving in water. This is a laminar flow regime, and for laminar flow regime, CD is equal to 24 over NREP. So here when you put the values 24 over 0.03, you will get 800. That is the drag coefficient, your answer. Okay, simple. Now here few points, few things about the drag forces and all these resistive forces. We did the force balance, okay, but we didn't see the effect and the variations, okay, the significance of those drag forces and all that stuff. Okay, so we should know all those things. Okay, so I hope this numerical is clear, and similarly there are some other numericals as well, and you can solve by yourself. Okay, and now here remember, if they ask two things they can ask, the variation in the numericals. If velocity is not given, regime is not given, okay, or even the regime is given. In laminar flow regime, in Stokes law regime, we don't know the minimum value of particle Reynolds number, okay, and so, but we know the maximum value of particle Reynolds number, that is 10 to the power minus 1. So there was a numerical in 2016 maybe, or maybe 17. What will be the maximum particle diameter settling in laminar flow regime in some fluid? Density, viscosity, all those things were given. Okay, the maximum diameter of particle was, they were asking. I it was in 2016, yes, for sure. So when we have to calculate the maximum particle diameter, okay, so how can we calculate that? Okay, so we can calculate that. See, Vt is this Stokes, in Stokes law design, this is Vt, this is particle Reynolds number. Okay, put this Vt here, then you will get a relation between dp rho f mu g. Okay, and for the maximum particle diameter, the value of this particle Reynolds number should be maximum. And what should be that value? 10 to the power minus 1. Okay, so density, viscosity, all those things were given. When you put those values here, you will get that maximum particle diameter. Okay, simple. Similarly, in Newton's law design, CD is this. This is the formula. Okay, so in turbulent flow design, they can ask you, in Newton's law design, or you can say turbulent flow design, they can ask you two things. First, the maximum possible diameter of particle. In that case, what will be the maximum possible value of particle Reynolds number? 10 to the power 5. Okay, put this CD here, then this Vt in the particle Reynolds number equation, and maximum particle Reynolds number is 10 to the power 5, you will get your answer, maximum possible size. Okay, or they can also ask you the minimum possible size of particle. And for the minimum possible size, obviously we should have the lowest value of the turbulent flow design, and that is nothing but just 10 to the power 3. So put this equal to 10 to the power 3, you will get the lowest possible size of the particle diameter. Okay, or even the minimum possible value of terminal velocity or the maximum possible value of terminal velocity. All these kind of things you can calculate. Okay, these kind of questions they can ask. Simple. So you don't need to think anything extra about this part. This is very conceptual but interesting and very scoring topic. Okay, now let's move on the force balance. So if you remember in this particle Reynolds design, in sedimentation, there is a particle settling downward, drag force and buoyancy force are acting in upward direction. Okay, so when you do the force balance, so net force, okay, that should be equal to rate of change of momentum transfer, that is dmp v over dt, or you can say m dv over dt. That will be equal to sum of forces, that is gravity force minus buoyancy force minus drag force. As we know that gravity force is the weight of the particle. Now, no, in Stokes law design, minimum particle Reynolds number is 0. You can't say that, because if particle Reynolds number is 0, it means particle is not moving, and when particle is not moving, then how can we talk about the sedimentation or anything else, settling or rising or whatever it is. Okay, so here Fg is the gravity force, that is the weight of the particle, and what is that? That is mass of the particle into g. We know that mass of the particle will not change according to the law of conservation. Mass will remain constant. Okay, if you have a particle and you are falling that particle or throwing that particle towards the sky or from sky towards the ground, whatever scenario is there, mass is not going to change. Okay, g is also not going to change, so gravity force will be constant. I hope you understand this point, logic. Similarly, buoyancy force. What is the buoyancy force? That is the lift force of the particle. Okay, lift force of the fluid, the force exerted by the fluid on the particle to lift that. Okay, and that force is equal to the weight of displaced fluid. Okay, so whatever particle is settling, the size of the particle will not change. So the volume of the particle will not change, and if the volume of particle is fixed, so volume of displaced fluid will be fixed, so the weight of the displaced fluid will be constant as well. What about the gravity drag force? We know that drag force is equal to CD AP rho f v square by 2. So AP is the projected area, obviously, Rho f is the density of fluid constant, v is the velocity of particle in the fluid, means the relative velocity. And here if you see dv by dt is the acceleration. So we know one thing from first equation of motion, if free falling is there, so v will be equal to at. So in the column, whatever column is there, when the particle just start to settle, when the particle is starting its journey, okay, u will be 0, v is equal to at. So when particle is starting its journey, there is we can say no resistive force acting on that particle, but as particle moves in this medium, in this fluid, resistive forces increases. Okay, as particle is going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, the resistive forces are increasing. Okay, and they will increase until all the forces are balanced. So which resistive force is increasing here? Buoyancy is the resistive force that is constant. It means the drag force is increasing. How? Because as particle move this distance, suppose initially the acceleration was 10. Okay, as particle is settling, obviously resistive forces are acting on the particle. So rate of change of momentum transfer will decrease. So the acceleration will decrease, and let's say from a equal to 10, it becomes a equal to 6. But still a is there. After 1 second, it decreases from 10 to 6. Okay, this is just simple calculations to understand the concept. Okay, don't go in much mathematics. So here v, suppose initially v was 10, now the v will become 16. A is there, a is existing, acceleration is existing, so velocity will increase. Now on the next movement, it decreases from 6 to 4. So it will increase to 20. Now from 4 to 2, 22, 2 to 1, 23, and then it becomes 0. So it will remain 23 and so on. Acceleration cannot go negative here, obviously we know that. So you can see until throughout the journey, until the particle is reaching the terminal velocity, okay, until the particle is reaching terminal velocity, till that point, from the starting point to that point, the threshold point, whatever you want to say, you can say that. Till that point, acceleration is there. Although acceleration is decreasing, but it is there. And since acceleration is there, so velocity will keep on increasing. And as velocity is increasing, you can see drag force is directly proportional to velocity. So drag force will increase, and means resistive forces are increasing. And as resistive forces are increasing, so the rate of change of momentum transfer will decrease. Basically the acceleration will decrease. So whatever way you want to relate that, you can relate. Okay, so that is the whole scenario. So in this thing, two things should be clear to all of you. So here, now, one simple logic should be there. One simple thing should be clear to all of you. Understand. When resisting forces are increasing, second scenario, resisting forces are decreasing. Okay. So, first, if resisting force is increasing, it means drag force is increasing. So it should be clear to you that buoyancy force never increases. It remains constant until and unless the density of the fluid is changing. If density of the fluid changes, then obviously buoyancy force may change, but if that is constant, then buoyancy force will not change. Okay, and I hope you must have studied the fluid mechanics, and you know that in most of the cases, almost in all the cases, we take one common assumption. There are several common assumptions, but one most common assumption is incompressible fluid. Incompressible fluid means density is fixed, and if density of the fluid is fixed, that means force will be fixed. Okay, so only drag force will increase, and if resisting force is decreasing, that means drag force will decrease. Now focus here, that is one very important logic. Okay, you can relate, I hope you understand all these things by yourself as well, but try to relate that. Okay, now the second thing, if drag force is increasing during the settling, just try to understand, if drag force is increasing, then what will happen? The force balance, all the forces will be balanced in no time, means in very small time. Forces will be balanced in small time. And here, if drag force is decreasing, or we have a low drag force basically, okay, or you can say low drag force we have. Here it means or high drag force. If drag force is less or a low drag force is there, then forces will be balanced, no problem. Forces will be balanced always, because in this universe everyone is trying to be stable. You guys also want to be stable. That's why you are preparing for GATE exam. Okay, because you think that after appearing in GATE exam and getting good rank with good marks, we will get good job or good IIT or whatever it is, then life will be set, whatever it is. Everyone is trying to be stable ultimately. So here forces will be balanced again, but they will balanced in larger time. Forces will be balanced in larger duration. Okay. Now, again, just try to understand. If force balance take place in a small time, if force balanced are taking place in a small time, then it means the drop in acceleration from whatever value it has, from initial value to 0, will be sudden. The rapid drop will be there in acceleration. And if rapid drop in acceleration is there, then obviously the rise in velocity will be small. Okay, and if rise in velocity is small, because ultimately after when a will become 0, v will become constant, and that will be the that constant velocity will be the terminal velocity. Okay, so when force balance will take place in a smaller time, then the drop in acceleration from value a to 0 will be fast, and when the drop is fast, then rise in velocity will be small. So we can say that we will have the low terminal velocity. Okay, similarly, if force balanced are taking place in longer duration, forces are being balanced in a longer duration, so the drop in acceleration will be very slow. And when drop in acceleration is very slow, then rise in velocity will be more, and we can say we will have the higher terminal settling velocity or terminal rising velocity, whatever it is. So in short, I am writing terminal velocity. Okay, because it depends whether it is a rising or settling, whatever it is. I hope this is clear. Now let's try to understand the same logic in a different way, in a ways of drag force. Okay, I hope you must have studied the same in fluid mechanics as well, but let's have a look over here. Okay, suppose there is a person went for the skydiving. He is in the plane and jump from the height of 18,000, 20,000 feet. Okay. and the person is falling over, obviously, towards the earth, towards the surface of the earth, ground. Okay. Suppose in the excitement and everything, whatever it is, the person forgot to carry the parachute. Okay. The person forgot to carry the parachute. When he does not have any parachute and he is going here like this, falling. Okay. What is the projected area of the person? Only this much, according to its body. Okay. The projected area will be small. And if projected area, that is AP, will be small, so you can see drag force will be small. And if drag force is small, then we have low resisting forces. The force balance will take place in larger time. And force balance is taking place in larger time, so obviously the settling velocity of the person will be high. So person will fall with very high velocity. Okay. Second scenario. There is another person who is quite smarter. He values the excitement, but he knows what to do. He is carrying his parachute. He is falling, and at a suitable height, he opened his parachute. And when the parachute opened, what will happen? You can see. This is person, this is the parachute. The relative projected area increases. Because of the parachute, the relative projected area will increase. And as the relative projected area increases, forces will be balanced in small time because drag force will be high. As you can see, drag force is directly proportional to projected area. And when forces are being balanced in a small time, so the terminal settling velocity will be low and person will fall with low velocity. Okay. And I hope you can visualize this scenario easily. Okay, that's very simple scenario. Second, one more thing, second example that I hope you can also relate or visualize. Okay, if any one of you have ever done boating or rafting or swimming, then you can easily relate with that. Okay, there I am not talking about the settling, I am talking about the drag forces. Suppose river is flowing in this direction. Okay, and you are paddling your boat or raft or swimming, whatever it is, in the same direction, in the direction of flow currents. Then what will happen? What will be your terminal settling velocity? Suppose you are moving with a velocity of 3 meters per second and the river is moving with a velocity of 1 meter per second. Then your terminal settling velocity will be 2, 3 minus 1, as both of you are moving in the same direction. And relative velocity is 2. That is V1 minus V2. So relative velocity is small, drag force will be small. This is small, that means resistive forces are small. And if resistive forces are small, then you have to put less efforts to move in the forward direction, But if you want to swim, you want to raft, or you want to paddle your boat in opposite direction, in that case your relative velocity will be 3 minus 1, that is 4. Means relative velocity will be high. And if relative velocity is high, then you can see, and obviously you have to put extra efforts to move in the forward direction if you are going. Okay. So that is the logic of drag force and all these parameters. I hope you can relate with them. Okay, and I hope all these things are clear. So if all these things, the concept, the force effect, the terminal settling velocity, everything is clear, then mention so that we can move ahead. Say yes or no, clear or not. Okay. We have one doubt, one very common doubt. that for mixing we were having different Reynolds number. For mixing we were having the Reynolds number of mixing, that was di square n g over rho, sorry, n rho over mu. For particle Reynolds number in settling, we have Reynolds number as dp rho v over mu. And for flow through cylindrical pipes, you have normal Reynolds number, that is dp rho, sorry, that is d rho v over mu, where d is the diameter of pipe. Why we are having different Reynolds number? Okay, I will not go in much detail, but I will give you the idea, because the fluid mechanics faculty can help you in this in a better way, obviously. Okay, but I can give you the idea. If you know what is Reynolds number, further we will see the fluidization, and in fluidization the particle Reynolds number defined as this, where v is the velocity of fluid. Here in settling, v is the velocity of particle, in fluidization that is the velocity of fluid. So for normal cylindrical flow in laminar flow design, the value is 2100. For particle Reynolds number in settling, the value is 10 to the power minus 1. For Reynolds number of mixing, the value is 10, and for fluidization this value will be 10 to the power 0. Okay. Why we have different values of Reynolds number for laminar flow? See, for turbulent flow as well we have all different values, okay, but magnitude wise they look same. Anyways, why we have all these things in difference? See, what is Reynolds number? For that you have to understand. Reynolds number may be defined as the physical significance you should know for all the dimensionless numbers. Okay, because in GATE exam they can ask you the dimensionless numbers as well. Any question regarding dimensionless numbers. Okay, or the matchmaking question, matchmaking type questions. So the Reynolds number defined as the ratio of inertia force to the viscous force. Okay, and if you have done the derivation thing, then you must know that here we have a value like rho v L over mu. After solving, we get the Reynolds number as rho v L over mu. What is L? L is the characteristic length. Okay. Now what is the meaning of characteristic length here? Okay, then that you should understand. Characteristic length is basically, as what I have understand, whatever knowledge I have about this, in very layman term I can say characteristic length is the length, the distance in which the streamlines are getting affected. Okay, if you know the streamline flow, streamlines, streak lines, all those things, so streamlines basically the path of the flow, fluid particle is following. Okay, so in case of pipes, fluid is flowing, so you will see that streamlines will get affected in this distance. The disturbance in the streamlines, the path will be based on this distance. And what is this distance? That is the diameter of pipe. So L is equal to D, the diameter of pipe. When I am talking about the settling of particle, so this is the particle which is settling in a fluid. Fluid is stationary, but since particle is moving, so the fluid, streamlines of the fluid will be like this. So you can see this is the disturbance in the streamlines because of the particle. If particle is not there, streamlines will be like this. But because of the particle, there is a disturbance. Okay. and the distance in that disturbance, the cause of that disturbance is the diameter of particle. So L is equal to the diameter of particle. Okay. In case of mixing, there is impeller diameter. The characteristic length is equal to impeller dia. Okay. Now you can ask, everywhere we have D, but here we have D square. Why? Because if you know V is equal to R omega. R means diameter upon 2, omega means 2 pi n. So 2 will get cancelled, D, one extra D will come in the picture whenever we talk about this RPM speed, when we change this linear speed into n. Okay, so this extra D will come in the picture, so it will become D square. And this n is there. Okay, now don't ask me where is pi. Okay, I am just telling you the idea. That derivation you can do by yourself for the inertia force and viscous force acting on the particle. So I hope this idea can help you to understand the difference in various Reynolds number and their values. Anushka, October 13. Anushka. Okay. So, okay, for the better understanding of this thing, you can discuss the concept with your fluid mechanics faculty. Obviously, he will guide you better because he is expert in that subject. So, he can give you some better technicalities of this thing. I can give you the elementals idea only. Okay. Or otherwise, you can find all those things by yourself. Anyways, so this is something about the sedimentation part. One more thing is here that you should know. The settling ratio. Okay. And the types of settling. So settling, there are two types of settling. One is free settling. Second is hindered settling. Okay, as the name suggests, free settling means free. Okay, as I told you in the last class when we were talking about the terminal settling velocity, if you are moving, you are driving, whatever is there, you can use that, whatever word you want to use, you can use. If you are driving your motor vehicle, okay, bike, car, bicycle, whatever it is, a scooter, aeroplane, whatever it is, on a highway, which is on a straight path. There is no speed breaker, no pothole, nothing. Every road is smooth. Okay, perfect. No traffic. Okay, no person. You cannot see any person on the road. Okay, in that case, obviously you will like to drive your bike at a maximum speed, and you are free to achieve the maximum speed of your bike because no obstacle is there in your way. Okay, so that is free settling. When particles are free to achieve their terminal settling velocity and particles are settling with their terminal settling velocity. So free settling occurs in the systems, in the mixtures, when the solid concentration is less than 0.1%. Okay, particle can achieve their maximum terminal settling velocity. Hindered settling means restrictions, obstacles, traffic, population, so many things are there. Now you are again, visualize the same concept, same thing, same example. You are riding your bike on a highway. After some distance, suppose you see there are a lot of people on the highway. Car, bike, red light, yellow light, bow light, speed breakers, everything is there. Okay. Can you achieve the maximum velocity of your bike? No. Why? Because if you try to accelerate the other person who is in front of you, if he is riding a car, you cannot have the collision with him. Accident कौन करना चाहता है? So similarly in the mixture, in the tank, if there are so many solid particles, So the settling of this particle will be affected by the presence of other particles. Okay, so particle will not be able to achieve their maximum velocity, maximum settling velocity, that is terminal settling velocity. So that is hindered settling, which is there when we have high solid concentration. Okay, in that case obviously particle will be settled with some velocity, but that will not be velocity. Obviously in traffic as well, your bike will move, but at not maximum speed, but at a certain speed. Okay, and that speed here is called the hindered settling velocity. Hindered settling velocity, that you can calculate by the help of this correlation. Vh is equal to Vt into epsilon power k. Vt is the terminal settling velocity of the particle. Means if there is a free settling, then what will be the maximum velocity, the terminal settling velocity of the particle, that you can calculate based on the design, laminar flow, Newton's law, whatever it is. K is the Zaki-Richardson constant. Or Zaki-Richardson index, whatever you want to say, you can say that. And epsilon is the porosity of solution. Solution, actually I should use the term mixture or suspension. Okay, solution we can use when solution means one phase mixture, when solid particles are dissolved in water or in fluid. Okay, but suspension means when solid particles are undissolved. Okay. And here porosity of suspension means, that should also be clear to you, the volume fraction of solids. In the mixture, in the tank, we have fluid and we have particles. So the volume fraction of particles. Fraction means the volume of particle divided by total volume and volume of particles. That's how you can calculate the volume fraction of solids, basically the porosity of suspension. Normally porosity is referred for the voids. Okay, but here when we talk about the mixtures, suspensions, here the porosity means the volume fraction of solids. So that should be clear to you. Don't get confused in that. Okay. So by using this correlation, you can easily calculate the hindered settling velocity. Okay. Now, next point. The settling ratio. See, one thing should be clear to you now. What is settling ratio? Suppose in a tank there are two solid particles which are settling. One is particle A, one is particle B. Both are settling. Okay, in the same tank obviously. The terminal settling velocity of particle A is Vta, for B it is Vtb, suppose. Or the settling velocity, hindered settling velocity as well, whatever settling velocity is there. If the terminal settling velocity of these two particles are same, then we will say these are equal settling particles. Okay, and the ratio of their diameter, is called the settling ratio. Means, what is settling ratio? So settling ratio is the ratio of the diameters of two particles of two equal settling particles. Okay, equal settling particles. This is the condition. Okay, now in general I am writing dPA by dPb is equal to rho pb minus rho f over rho pa minus rho f power m. where m is equal to 1 upon 2 for laminar flow regime, or you can say Stokes flow regime, and m is equal to 1 for turbulent flow regime, or you can say Newton's law regime. And in between them we have transition flow regime. Transition flow regime. So for that m will be between 1/2 to 1. Okay. How can you calculate this? It's simple. Okay. For Stokes flow regime, VTA will be equal to dPA square G rho PA minus rho F upon 18 mu F. VTB is equal to dPB square G rho PB minus rho F upon 18 mu F. All the parameters will be same, like mu, 18 and G. So from there, if you calculate the ratio dPA upon dPB, you will get this power 1/2 for Stokes law regime. Similarly, for Newton's law regime, you will get the other values. Okay. Anyways, so this is the settling ratio. And what is the significance of this? Okay, so you can understand that easily. We will do a numerical on this settling ratio. Okay, there was only one question in the entire 30 years. If I see last 31 years, so actually from 1990 to 2020, they have asked only one question on this settling ratio. Okay, basically one numerical. There are 2-3 questions they have asked on that, but only one numerical they have asked. Okay, so we will discuss that numerical here, so that you will be able to understand the significance, the application of this point settling ratio. I'm not going to discuss the same numerical, obviously, because I don't remember the exact question and I don't have that question with me here. So I will try to redesign another question similar to that for you. Okay, I hope this is clear. So question is, a mixture of galena and quartz particles have size range of this 0.00022 to 0.008 centimeter. Settling in water calculate the size range of pure galena and pure quartz particles settling along. Okay, this is a numerical. Before you solve this numerical, before we discuss this numerical, there is one point which you should note, and I hope that will help you to solve this numerical as well. That is laws of settling. Basically, these are not the laws as such. These are some, you can say, the observations, the conclusion. In the settling, when we are analyzing that settling and doing whatever study is there required, okay, then we got some conclusions, some observations, and those observations they can say they used in the books as laws of settling. Okay, the first observation is the regular size particle regular size particles will have faster settling velocity than that of for the irregular size particles of same size and density. See, we have three parameters. Size means diameter, density and sphericity. So based on the sphericity, we can have only two type of particles, regular and irregular. Done. Second, based on size. So based on size, we can have only two type of particles, large, small, or we can say coarse and fines in general. Okay, so second point is the terminal settling velocity of coarse particles will be relatively faster than the fine size particles of same shape and density. Sphericity means shape, obviously. Okay, means that terminal settling velocity of coarse particles will be same. Like if you have two spherical particles, 1 meter dia and 1 centimeter dia, and you throw them simultaneously, made up of same material obviously, so the 1 meter dia particle will have faster settling velocity as compared to 1 centimeter dia particle. Okay, कहने का मतलब ये है कि अगर आप दो लोगों को छत से नीचे फेंक रहे हो, धक्का दे रहे हो, ठीक है, जिसमें से एक बड़ा आदमी है और एक छोटा आदमी है, पतला दुबला सा कमजोर आदमी, कुपोषण का शिकार, और दूसरा बड़ा आदमी है, हट्टा कट्टा नौजवान तो नहीं कहना चाहिए, हट्टा कट्टा आदमी और पूरा सुपोषित सारी चीजें, तो वो ज्यादा जल्दी नीचे जाएगा. तो इतना खाना पीना करने का फायदा क्या हुआ जब आपको पहले नीचे गिरना है. Anyway, sorry for the bad pigeon. Third one is based on density. So density means two, high density, low density. High density means heavy gravity, low density means lower gravity. So third is heavy gravity particles. Heavy gravity particles will have faster settling velocity than the lighter gravity particles of same size and shape. Okay, means if you have two balls of 1 meter dia, one is tennis ball, one is snooker ball, suppose. Okay, both are spherical, both are 1 centimeter in dia or 1 meter in dia, suppose. Okay, when you throw them, so snooker ball will settle faster as compared to tennis ball, because obviously snooker ball's density will be high as compared to tennis ball. Okay, and the fourth one is terminal settling velocity of the particle increases as the viscosity of the fluid decreases. Okay, in the fluid, as the viscosity decreases, terminal settling velocity will increase. And how the viscosity of the fluid decreases, I hope you understand that as per the temperature, pressure, whatever it is. For gases, on increasing temperature, viscosity increases. For gases, for increasing temperature, viscosity increases. For liquid, on increasing temperature, viscosity decreases. I think यही होता है शायद. Sorry if I am wrong, but ऐसा ही कुछ होता है. I hope all of you know that. है ना? सही तो है, हाँ यही होता है. For gases, if we increase the temperature, viscosity increases. For liquids, if we increase the temperature, viscosity decreases. Because for liquids, friction force between the fluid particle decreases, but for gases kinetic energy increases and particles will start to have more random behavior, entropy increases and thus viscosity increases. ठीक है, सही है. So these are the points. Okay, so now try to solve this numerical. I can solve it directly, okay, without giving you time, but whatever people are live here, at least try for this for 2 minutes and tell me the answer. Otherwise, no problem. We will discuss this. Now let's try to solve this. Okay. See, I have a mixture in which I have galena particles. Density of these particles is 7500 kg per cubic meter. Suppose this is A. Okay. And I have quartz particles. And density of these particles is given 2650 kg per cubic meter. Let's say B. Now I am putting this mixture in water. There is a tank, and in that tank it is filled with water. Okay. I am putting this mixture there. All particles will start to settle down. Now, logic. In this mixture, the size range of the particle is 0.0002 centimeter to 0.008 centimeter. The smallest particle is 0.0002 centimeter, largest particle is 0.008 centimeter. Okay. So, what will happen? So, just first assume, try to visualize. Suppose all these particles have same diameter. Suppose all these particles have same diameter. In that case, as nothing is mentioned about the shape, so we will assume that all particles have same shape. Okay, so we will not go into those much details. So suppose if all particles have same diameter, what will happen? Heavy gravity particles will have higher settling velocity as compared to lighter gravity particles. So galena particles will settle faster as compared to quartz particles. So since the settling velocity of galena particle is high, so obviously for some delta t, for some time interval delta t, the distance covered by the galena particles will be more as compared to quartz particles, because their settling velocity has to be high. So it means all particles are starting from here, so galena particles will reach the bottom first, and as compared to quartz particles. Okay. So now the second logic, the size. Now galena particles have higher density. So in this mixture we have two types of galena particles, small size and large size, or you can say coarse and fine. So coarse size galena particles, since they are already settling with higher velocity, so coarse size galena particles will reach the bottom at first. So in this bottom section, we will have the galena particles. So we can say the pure galena will be there. And pure galena means the larger size galena particle, because a small size galena particle will be there in this region. Now if I talk about the quartz particles, so we know that quartz particles, their density is low, so they will settle with lower velocity as compared to galena particles. If we compare the equal size particle, so the settling velocity of quartz particle should be less as compared to that of our galena particle. So in this mixture, if I talk about the small size quartz particle, so the small size quartz particles will have very slow settling velocity. So they will be in this region. So here we can assume to have pure quartz. That is the small size. And the large size quartz particle will have relatively higher settling velocity, so they will go in this region. Okay, so in this region we will have a small size galena and large size quartz particle settling together. A small size quartz is already there, large size galena are here. So small size galena and large size quartz will be in the middle somewhere, settling together. Okay, so now let's try to solve this. I hope this concept is clear to you. Okay, now let's see with obviously large size galena cannot settle with quartz because it will have the highest settling velocity, and similarly small size quartz cannot settle with galena, any of the galena particle, because it will have the lowest settling velocity. But a small size galena and large size quartz may settle together. So let's see with large, or you can say largest size quartz particle which size galena will settle. Okay. Here in this question, regime is not given, that which regime you have to use. So in this case, by default we will go for laminar regime if this type of question they are asking in GATE exam. Okay. So by default we are going to use the Stokes flow regime. Okay. But if they want to calculate that for turbulent flow regime, you can do that as well. Okay, so it will be mentioned that all these particles are settling in turbulent flow regime or high Reynolds number, something like that, or Newton's law regime. So let's say we are talking about the Stokes flow regime. All these are in a laminar flow regime. So for laminar flow regime, I hope you remember that its settling ratio will be power 1 by 2. So the quartz is B. So the largest possible diameter for quartz particle is 0.008. So now let's put these values in the settling ratio. So dPA upon dPb is equal to density of B, that is 2650, density of fluid, that is 1000, upon density of galena A, 7500 minus 1000, power 1 by 2. So when you solve this, you will get dPA is equal to what you are getting. Let's see. Yeah, red color is not clearly visible, no problem, but you know all these equations, so that's why I'm not trying to use that. इसके लिए कुछ और भी कर सकते हैं ना. आई थिंक अब अच्छा बाकी कलर विजिबल नहीं है तो यही कर लेते हैं, कोई नहीं. बाद में देखेंगे ये सारे एक्सपेरिमेंट, अभी टाइम नहीं है. लेट्स ट्राई टू कैलकुलेट डीपीए हियर. So it will be 2650 minus 1000 over 7500 minus 1000. Square root of answer multiply by 0.008. dPA will be 0.004 centimeter. Now let's try to understand this in a bigger picture. Quartz galena. So when quartz particle size is 0.008 centimeter, the particle, the galena particle which is settling with it, the 0.008 centimeter quartz particle, the galena particle which is settling with this, which has the same settling velocity as this quartz particle, that is 0.004 centimeter. Okay, means with all quartz particle with this dia, the galena particles of this size will settle with same velocity. So it means if I decrease the size of this quartz particle 0.007, let's say, so with this size of quartz particle, the galena particle which are settling with the same velocity, they will have the diameter, they must have the diameter less than 0.004 centimeter. That you can calculate as well. You will see that will be less than this. Okay. Now, if I talk about the quartz particle with diameter greater than this, so the galena particles which have diameter greater than 0.004 centimeter, they will settle with this size of quartz particle. Okay, I hope it is clear. But now the problem is, we don't have this size of quartz. This is the maximum possible quartz size. So with this maximum possible quartz particle, the galena particle which is settling with this, along with it, they have this diameter. So it means, since this is not possible, so all those galena particles which have diameter above this are settling along, because for these particles we must have quartz of greater than 0.008. That is not present. So it means in pure galena mixture we will have all the particles, all the galena particles with size range greater than 0.004 centimeter. And if you want to mention the size range, you can write it as, for pure galena, the size range is 0.004 to the maximum possible size, that is 0.008. Okay, I hope it is clear. Now, for the quartz. So we know that large size quartz and small size galena are settling together. So let's see the with smallest galena particle which quartz particle is settling. Okay, with the smallest galena particle, which quartz particle is settling? So, dPa, the smallest possible diameter of galena is 0.0002 centimeter. dPb for quartz, we don't know. Is equal to 1650 over 6500 power 1 by 2. So from here you will see dPb is equal to 0.00039. That means when the diameter of Galena particle is 0.0002 centimeter, so with that Galena particle, the quartz particle which has the same velocity, that is 0.00039 centimeter. The diameter of quartz particle which has the same velocity as this size Galena particle is this. Means if I use a Galena particle of size more than this, then the size of quartz particle which have the same velocity like Galena particle of this size will be this. Okay. Similarly, if the size of Galena particle is less than this, so the quartz particles which have the same velocity as this size Galena particles will be less than 0.0039 centimeter. But the problem is, we don't have this size of Galena particles available, because this is the smallest possible size. And when we don't have this size of Galena particles, so it means all the quartz particle in this range will be settling alone. So here in pure quartz, the size of the particles will be less than 0.00039 centimeter. Okay, and if you want to mention that in terms of range, then you can say the pure quartz are 0.00022, 0.00039 centimeter. So that's how you can solve these kind of numericals very easily. You just need to visualize how the settling is taking place, where the particle is moving, whether it will have the higher settling velocity or the lower settling velocity, whatever it is. Okay. So I hope this kind of question you can solve if you find any of such question in exam. Yes, no? Is it clear? Is it clear? Yes, no? Yes, okay, wonderful. So if you want to note this, you can note that later on after re-watching the video, recorded version of this video, and pause the screen. So now let's move to the next part. This is all about the sedimentation. Okay. Now we are left with 4 topics: solid gas separation, filtration, fluidization, and solid-solid separation. So if I talk about the solid gas separation, so the only important thing here is, see, you should know that solid gas separation means separation of solids from the solid gas mixture. Okay, their purpose is basically to clean the air, like air is going in the motor vehicles for combustion purpose. So to clean the dust particles from the air, we use air filters. So the methods for solid gas separations include filtration, electrostatic force, which is used by ESPs, that is electrostatic precipitators, basically for the removal of harmful smoke particles. Means in industry, when there are some exhaust gases and we want to dump those exhaust gases into atmosphere, so before dumping them we have to remove some harmful smoke particles, for which we can use the ESPs. Okay, and that is basically to save the environment, to prevent the air pollution, all that stuff. Okay, other than this, the centrifugal force, like which we use in cyclone separator, the gravitational force, and wet scrubbing. Wet scrubbing is just like the gas absorption, you can say. In gas absorption, what we do, like if you want to remove the CO2 from exhaust gases, so we pass those exhaust gases in a gas absorption column along with water. Okay, so since CO2 has higher affinity towards water as compared to gas, so CO2 will leave the gas phase and go into the water, and that's how the CO2 recovery take place. Or those equipments are called CO2 scrubbers as well. If any one of you have done the industrial training, then you must know that. Similarly here, To remove the solid particles, we use water in most of the cases, and those solid particles will go in water and separation takes place. They will get separated from the gases, and these solid particles are undissolved solid particles. Okay. Venturi scrubber is one of the common equipment which we use for that. So here I am not going to discuss anything about all those things. Main thing is cyclone separator, so we will talk about that only. So cyclone separator. Okay. So cyclone separator is, we have a cylindrical section followed by a conical section. In the top of the cylindrical section, we have one inlet pipe where we send the solid gas stream with very high velocity. With very high velocity. So as this gas enters in this, see, if you see the cross-sectional top view of this column, gas stream is going like this. And if you see the path of the solid gas inlet stream, the path is following the tangent. Okay, so that's why the inlet velocity of gas here is also known as tangential velocity. Tangential velocity. Obviously, they will move along the walls of the container, and since top part is blocked, so they will not go in the top. So all the solid gas stream will move along the walls of the container towards the bottom, since top is blocked. Okay, and while these gases are moving along the walls of the container, obviously gas particles have low mass, so they will have low inertia and they will easily change their direction. Okay, but since solid particles have higher mass, so they need the inertia force, the centrifugal force acting on those solid particles will be high. So solid particles will not be able to change their direction, they will have the collision with these walls. And when these solid particles will have the collision, they will lose their energy and all the solid particles will start to settle down vertically downward. And here we are supposed to get the solid discharge in the bottom. Okay, now again we have two types of solid particles, coarse and fines. So the size of coarse particles will be, the weight of coarse particles will be more as compared to fine size particles. So fine size particles may change their direction easily because the centrifugal force acting on them will be low. So that's why in the bottom we have the conical section where area is reducing. So area is reducing, so what will happen? The fine size particle will start to have the collision with the wall as they will not get the sufficient area to change their direction. They will also have the collision with the walls and all fine size particle will settle down, and till bottom we will have the clean gas only. Now we have two things. First, as the tendency of gas is to move from bottom to top, and second, the pressure difference. The fluid always flow from high pressure to low pressure. So what will happen in this case, as you can see, since all gases are moving along the walls of the container, so the central region is almost empty. Pressure near the walls will be high as compared to pressure in the center. So all gases will move, these clean gases will move in the center part, and because of these gases are moving along the walls, so there will be a dynamic pressure difference because flow rate may change. All the other things are also there. So the pressure difference between near the walls and the central region will be dynamic pressure difference. Okay. So because of that, this clean gas will follow a rotating path like this, and it will move towards the top. But now obviously I want to separate that. So I will have one outlet pipe here. For the separation of clean gas. For the separation of clean gas. Okay, and I will make sure that the depth of this pipe is below the inlet pipe, because otherwise all the gases will short circuit bypass to the directly. Okay, so that's how the separation takes place in this. And here you can see the centrifugal force and gravity force are two major factors. So based on that, we define the separation factor to measure the quality of the cyclone separators. Separation factor, that is defined as the ratio of centrifugal force, that is mv square over r, divided by gravity force, mg. So you can see this is v square over rg. Higher the separation factor, higher will be the separation. Lower the separation factor, lower will be the separation. And lower separation means we don't get the clean gas. Some solid particles will be there. Okay. So this is the cyclone separator, also known as cyclone and also known as gas cyclone. And if you want to calculate the overall efficiency of this cyclone separator, there are various methods which are available in Jin-Koplis as well. If you know the book by Jin-Koplis, there as well you can see all those methods. Otherwise, one common method to calculate the overall efficiency is this. Eta is equal to summation of xi into eta I, where xi is the mass fraction of particles fed in ith stream. And eta I is MCI over MFI. That is, MCI means mass of particles collected in ith stream to the mass of particles fed in ith stream. What is the meaning of all these things that you will understand by yourself? Okay, there are 4 questions they have asked in last 20 years based on the gas cyclone. Those are 16, 52, 58 and 65. In last lecture I have already told you how to download the PDF from our website, okay, where we already have included all the previous year questions subject wise for mechanical operation from last 20 years. So based on the sequence number of that PDF, these are the 4 questions which they have asked in last 20 years on these topics, gas cyclone. Okay, so you can try these questions. 52 is for this, that you can practice to calculate the overall efficiency. You will understand that easily. Okay, and again I am repeating one more point. If someone, anyone, whoever it is, even the president of वर्ल्ड, वैसे तो ऐसा कुछ होता नहीं है, बट सपोज ओके दैट इन गेट एग्जाम यू विल नॉट गेट द रिपीटेड क्वेश्चन. अगर किसी ने ऐसा बोला, आई एम नॉट सेइंग to use any violence, to do any violence, or to use any abusive or any annoying word. Don't do any kind of the such thing. Just show him question number 16 and 58. In other subjects as well, we have so many questions which are repeated, but just show him these two questions. Okay, why I am saying that? Because we have a very common tendency that if we ask the things with those people with which we are comfortable, with whom we are comfortable, okay, जिनके साथ हम comfortable हैं, हम उन्हीं से सारी चीजें पूछते हैं, सारी चीजें. We don't care about the credibility of that person. That person could be our father, mother, senior, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, father-in-law, mother-in-law, son, daughter, anyone. Faculty and friends as well. Senior, juniors as well. तो जिनके साथ हम कंफर्टेबल हैं, हम उनसे सारी चीजें पूछते हैं, and we don't see the credibility of that guy. ठीक है? तो I have seen in last 8 years so many students. ठीक है, they do the preparation here in coaching, but just before the exam in last those 1.5 month, 1 month, 2 month, okay, they do some discussions or they take some suggestions from their seniors, juniors, or some third party person, okay, regarding the GATE exam. Now they don't care whether that person has qualified GATE exam or not. Okay, I also did the same. In my BTech third year, I asked for the GATE exam with one of my senior, and he was not even GATE qualified, and he was interested in MBA. ठीक है, जो person MBA के लिए interested है, obviously he will have the knowledge about MBA only, and I was asking him about the MTech and all those things. Okay, see, such a stupid guy I was at that time. But in BTech final year, I corrected myself, and I asked another senior who qualified GATE exam with very good marks and very good rank, and her rank was 61, I guess. Yes, 61. Okay, and she suggested me some very good points, and because of them I was able to get good rank and good college. So same thing I want to tell you, don't listen anyone. Before listening and implementing those points, that ज्ञान जो किसी से मिल रहा है, एक बार उसकी क्रेडिबिलिटी चेक कर लो, क्या वो उस फील्ड में अच्छा है. इफ ही इज एक्सपर्ट और ही हैज सम गुड नॉलेज अबाउट दैट फील्ड, ओनली देन उसका ज्ञान लेने का फायदा है, अदरवाइज कोई फायदा नहीं है ना. अब मुझे हाथ में चोट लगी है, फ्रैक्चर है, तो मैं रिक्शे वाले से या पान वाले से नहीं पूछूंगा कि इसमें क्या करना है. नाइदर आई विल गो फॉर एनी एडवोकेट और पुलिस स्टेशन. I will not go for a doctor, the dentist or the physiotherapist. I will go for the orthopedic doctor, है ना. तो आप भी ऐसा करते हो, आई होप. तो लाइफ में जब ऐसा करते हो तो यहाँ यही करना है. नाउ क्वेश्चंस रिगार्डिंग द सेडिमेंटेशन बेस्ड ऑन दैट PDF. ओके, सेडिमेंटेशन कंप्लीट हो गया, तो सेडिमेंटेशन के भी गेट प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चंस ऑब्वियसली यू हैव टू प्रैक्टिस. Yeah, one more thing we do. We have studied CRE, FM with some faculty like Mr. A, and heat transfer and mathematics from Mr. B. So we ask the doubts of CRE with Mr. B, जिन्हें आता भी नहीं है, जिन्होंने हमें पढ़ाया नहीं CRE, FM ना, बट हम उन्हीं से पूछेंगे क्योंकि हमें उनका मैथ अच्छा लगा था, है ना. Similarly, we do one more thing. फॉर एमओ हमें एक्स ने पढ़ाया बट हम वाई से पूछते हैं, क्यों? क्योंकि वाई ने एफएम अच्छा पढ़ाया था. सो दीज काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स यू शुड अवॉइड. दैट्स व्हाई आई ऑलवेज सजेस्ट टू डिस्कस ईच एंड एवरीथिंग विद द कंसर्न फैकल्टी ओनली. ओके, एंड सिंस इन आवर इंस्टीट्यूट हियर वी हैव डिफरेंट फैकल्टीज फॉर डिफरेंट सब्जेक्ट्स, सो वैरायटी भी मिल जाएगी आपको. तो एफएम का डाउट एफएम के बंदे से पूछो, मैथ का डाउट मैथ के बंदे से पूछो. Those things will help you only. Now about the sedimentation. There are so many questions, like question number 6. मैंने इसमें मार्क नहीं लगा रखा था, तो दूसरी बुक में है, कोई नहीं, जल्दी जल्दी बता देता हूँ, इट विल नॉट टेक टाइम. 15, 17, 27, 29, 38, 43, 46, 50, 51, 60, 64, 67, 68, 72, and 77. So these are the few questions which they have asked in last 20-year papers from sedimentation. Okay, and out of all these three, obviously it is not possible to discuss all the questions here. So I have marked 3 questions, 50, 51 and 67. These are the 3 questions, 50, 51 and 60 questions. Okay, so now let's have a break of 20 minutes. Okay, it's 4:15 here, so we will continue the class at 4:35. Okay, so in this break, the people who are live, obviously you can try to practice these 3 questions, and we will discuss these questions in next part of the video, next part of the class. Okay, so let's have a break of 20 minutes, then we will continue the class, and then we will discuss these 3 questions, then followed by fluidization, filtration and solid solid separation. Tada, good luck.